With the sun we do travel, our desires they unravel. Castles and buttons so easily. Over land or the water, workshops on reorder. Always becoming more of me. We come and we go with that evident glow. Things are always working out, you see. Same canned up to source, the manifesting things of course. Shouting out whoopee, birds of a feather.
So, I've been chatting to people here and there about the amazingly spectacular way I've ended up meeting other Abrahamers, and it strikes me that this deserves an episode in its own right, so here goes. My Abraham journey, up until going to my first in-person event in Amsterdam last year, June 2024, had been a quiet one. I'd loved doing this journey on my own, entirely for me, doing what felt right to me, and having just had my own energy. I'd been part of big groups in the past with previous things I'd tried, and this just felt so awesome, dialing into what felt right for me all the time. However, there were times when I would have liked someone to share my manifestations with. That's all I thought, just someone that gets this and I can double my joy with when I tell them about what's happened and they really get it. So at Amsterdam, I saw someone that I recognised from the Abraham Nows and who I'd some years before attended a completely unrelated workshop with, and who I actually had some resistance around, and for some reason decided I should go and say hi. Of course, she met me with where my resistance was at, said hi, and excused herself to go get a drink. And I thought, oh, that felt off. But then the woman right beside her started talking to me, and she asked for my number because she heard I was going on an Abraham cruise and thought she might want a roommate. I remember actually being kind of offhand and thinking, okay, but I already have a friend coming with me. She'll be my roommate, so I don't need to connect with you really. And also I wasn't on any socials like Facebook or Instagram, etc., other than WhatsApp, and this woman, Anya, wasn't on WhatsApp. So we agreed we could text, and that was pretty much that. About a week after I got back from Amsterdam, I noticed that Anya was now on WhatsApp. I was so surprised that I messaged her welcoming her, and ever since we've been avid Abraham friends, loving all that our connection has brought and going on to attend the Edinburgh workshop together and having so much fun. On the way home from Amsterdam, I sat down on the first row of the plane next to two other women and heard one turn to the other and say, "And are you feeling refreshed?" And of course, the rest of the journey home was filled with the most amazing chatter all about our experiences. We actually didn't exchange contact details, but I knew one of them was an amazing violin maker and restorer, so it wasn't hard to find her and make contact. And again, meeting them 1 year later at Edinburgh was the most amazing feeling. Come March 2025 on the Abraham Caribbean cruise, and I'm queuing up early one day for the workshops, and I meet this adorable Canadian woman, Audrey, who was in her 70s and who blew me away with her stories of how she was a curling athlete and how her wife was into rock climbing. And so when my roommate and I encountered them both at the buffet that night, we figured it would be awesome to eat together. And thanks to those two, we went on to enjoy the fabulous evening shows which we'd been missing out on by hopping into bed early. The following day, we agreed to do dinner and shows again with them, as it was the last night on the ship. However, after the workshops, we all had different things we wanted to do before dinner, and so I found myself alone on the deck with my headphones. And having picked a beautiful quiet spot, I sat to listen and tune into myself. Beside me was an empty chair that I hadn't given much thought to, until a few moments later, a fabulous little woman approached me and asked if anyone was sitting there. And without so much as thinking, I replied, "Not that I'm aware of, unless they are non-physical," which is something I'd never normally say, but it just felt so right after the day we'd just had. And of course, Lariah then instantly knew that she was about to sit down next to another Abrahamer. We chatted away, having so much fun, and I became aware that I had agreed to go to dinner at a certain time, but was so enjoying this conversation about how she had manifested her free cruise cabin that I consciously made the decision to stay there and choose what felt the most fun for me in that moment. I quickly texted my roommate and said, "I've met someone. We'll be late, go on without me." And then the inspiration struck to invite this new friend, Lariah, to join us for the meal, which, as it happens, was actually just a few feet from where we were sitting. Lariah went on to join us for the evening shows that night, and it wasn't until more recently that I discovered that meeting someone to have dinner and watch the evening shows with had been on Lariah's desires list and something I'd not consciously been aware of when inviting her to join us. As I attempted to leave the cruise on the final day, all kinds of wonderful things happened. I kept bumping into so many wonderful people I'd met and meant to get contact details for, and so I was able to connect with them, even right up until walking to my Uber at the port side and running into someone as I did so. Well, cruise over, and for the first time on that trip, I was going to stay in a hotel on my own. Prior to the cruise, I'd been there with my roommate, and I was just in the Uber thinking about what to do with my time now that I would be without any Abraham influence, and how I would have liked it to have continued. And I kid you not. I walked into the lobby of my hotel, and instantly a woman rose off the floor where she had been digging into her luggage and said, "Oh, I remember you from the cruise." Just like that. Now, I'm going to explain that prior to the cruise, I'd had my hair dyed teal, something I'd never done before, but thought it would be super fun. And the whole way through the cruise, people would keep coming up saying, "I love your hair," and then disappear. So lots of people recognised me, even though I couldn't remember who they were. And it felt for me that this might be one of those people. We had arrived at the hotel quite early in the morning and had to wait to check in, and so Trinity invited me to join her in going to the rooftop pool. But I, my resistance speaking, opted to go shopping as per my previous plan, because much as I wanted to go to the pool, I had resistance around it. So I assured her I'd join her after I had done some shopping. I went out shopping and almost immediately thought, why did I resist that invitation? I wanted to go to the rooftop pool, and here was someone offering to do it with me. I did the shopping I wanted to do and returned to the lobby, only to find that Trinity seemed to magically walk back into the lobby behind me. I told her about immediately having regretted saying no, and she went on to say that she'd actually gone and done some shopping too, and that we could go up now if we liked. So off we set. The next few hours were full of us barely taking a breath, with all our overflowing vibrations, and watching the birds drinking from the pool, and then deciding to go and get some food and take a walk, and the entire time we saw more and more signs, more and more manifestations. It was like we were in our own vortex. Also during this walk, Trinity added me to a group WhatsApp chat, something I'd learned would have powerful consequences for my unfolding. What we hadn't realised was that the receptionist at our hotel had watched our meeting and loved the interaction and vibe we had going on, and had put in a request for me to have my room available early, something that's normally chargeable. Also, my room had been upgraded to a balcony room, and Trinity's to a suite, both of which we hadn't paid for when booking. That night we went our separate ways, because I was shattered and not one thing in the world was going to have me move from the delicious comfort of my enormous bed. However, the next morning Trinity invited me up to see her fabulous suite, and from there we continued our wonderful dance into the day, again going out for food and hearing songs play that spoke all about you can have anything you want, and then walking into the park wanting to see iguanas and seeing 2 of them, and then a squirrel coming right up to me and touching my finger with her little hands. Oh, and Trinity also told me that when I'd been deliciously relaxing in bed, she'd gone out for a walk, bumped into our receptionist friend who had said she was totally into the law of attraction. And so before we left the hotel that day, she gave us her number. Cool, right? Trinity and I continued our wonderful Abraham vortex, because that's exactly what it felt like, right to the airport as we were both flying out similar times to each other, so caught the same cab from our hotel. Since then, thanks to the WhatsApp group that she added me to, I met Kerry. Kerry was obviously also on the Caribbean cruise, and while she remembers meeting me there, and I still swear I don't, that definitely has something to do with all the bullshit that was floating around in my head at the time. For me, we consciously connected when she decided she was going to manifest herself a ticket to the Edinburgh event, and proceeded to do so just hours before the event started. And yes, pretty epic when you consider she was coming from the States too. When she messaged me that she was coming, I'd just set up a group booking for a table of 10 for dinner on the first night of the Edinburgh event and had one spare space, so offered it to her. And then, as she says, when she walked into the break room at Edinburgh before the workshop started, she informed me that we needed to set up a WhatsApp group for this event, and so together we adminned that. All of these wonderful Abraham friends were manifested from events I attended, so I really can't wait to see what's up ahead, considering I'm currently booked to attend Asheville next month and the Panama cruise next year, and that's without anything else that's likely to unfold in between. As always, friends, happy manifesting. Or I guess I could say, happy manifesting friends.